From ABC News, this is World News Tonight, Saturday. Now from our Washington headquarters, here's Kathleen Sullivan.
Good evening, and welcome to the debut of ABC's World News Tonight, Saturday. On our first program, we'll have today's top stories, including Secretary of State Shultz's departure from Andrews Air Force Base for arms talks in Geneva. In addition to today's news, ABC's media analyst Jeff Greenfield joins our program tonight. He'll examine press coverage of the New York subway vigilante. Howard Cosell interviews Time Magazine's Man of the Year, Olympic organizer, and baseball commissioner Peter Ueberroth. And we'll look at Elvis Presley, the late great king of rock and roll, whose 50th birthday is next week. First, today's news. Secretary of State George Shultz departs for Geneva tonight. There he and his Soviet counterpart, Andrei Gromyko, will renew arms control negotiations, which broke off more than a year ago. Shultz departs from Andrews Air Force Base near Washington in just a few minutes. There he is now ascending into the plane. He arrives in Switzerland tomorrow. Formal talks begin on Monday. Reagan administration officials are optimistic about the current thaw in U.S.-Soviet relations, but they warn that there is little likelihood of a breakthrough. As John McCarthy now reports from Geneva, the reality is that an arms control agreement is still a long way off.
This is why Secretary of State Shultz and Soviet Foreign Minister Gromyko are coming to Geneva. It is a simple yet terrifying fact that the Soviet Union and the United States have the means not to just fight a war, but to destroy all people on the planet in the process. Talks aimed at limiting such nuclear firepower will begin here at the Soviet mission on Monday. Shultz will be gauging Soviet willingness to make deep cuts in offensive weapons, and Gromyko will be testing America's willingness to ban weapons from space. Both sides acknowledge the road ahead will not be easy.
Even if all goes well, if Shultz and Gromyko really hit it off right away, it would take, I would say, not only months, but probably years before you get an agreement.
Just getting to Geneva has been a major achievement.
The present round of the negotiations is discontinued.
13 months ago, the Soviets walked out of arms control talks, vowing not to return unless the U.S. withdrew new Pershing and cruise missiles from Western Europe. The missiles are still there. After the walkout, the Soviets boycotted the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. They stationed additional missile-carrying submarines off the U.S. coast and put more nuclear weapons in Eastern Europe. Finally, last fall, a thaw began. For the first time since taking office 3.5 years before, Ronald Reagan met with a high-ranking Soviet official, Andrei Gromyko.
We're reaching a stage when we can talk about our differences in a substantive and constructing matter. When our dialogue is no longer dialogue of the deaf. When we talk to each other rather than talking through each other.
Of all the issues to be discussed here in Geneva, none has drawn more fire from the Soviets than President Reagan's Star Wars defense plan, even though it is still nothing more than a research program.
It's a bargaining chip. It always has been. I mean, obviously, if there is something that you can do that the other side doesn't want you to do, that gives you a certain amount of bargaining power.
At this round of talks, the U.S. is not expected to give ground on the question of weapons in space. Instead, it's anticipated the Reagan administration will use the issue as leverage to get the Soviets back to the bargaining table in the months ahead to discuss limiting all kinds of weapons. John McCarthy, ABC News, Geneva.
Soviet President Konstantin Chernenko today renewed his attack on President Reagan's Star Wars proposal, saying it will be the central issue in the Geneva talks. ABC's Peter Jennings will be reporting on those negotiations from Geneva. He now joins us from Brussels. Peter, Belgium's the next country to get those cruise missiles that the Soviets object to. What is the feeling there on the eve of these arms control talks?
Well, I think the feeling here in Belgium, Kathleen, is the same as the one in Holland and in Britain from where we've just come. Considerable ambiguity about putting the missiles here, the cruise missiles here and in Holland, and considerable uncertainty about the Soviet-American relationship in general, and very high expectations about the possibilities of what might come out of a renewed round of talks between Washington and Moscow. People here very sensitive that they haven't talked in a very long time, and very, very eager for them to talk again.
Peter, today in this country, American industrialist Armand Hammer, who has long had business with the Soviets, said that he hopes a no first strike agreement will come out of this week's meetings. Are some of the analysts that you've talked to, do they think that there will be proposals that specific?
No, I don't think anybody that we've talked to over here, at least, Kathleen, thinks that anything is going to come with any great speed out of this agreement. I think the real sense of urgency about talks, as I said, here and in Holland and in Great Britain, is what people are really concentrating on. Talks about talks. Star Wars, as you've already mentioned in the program, has got people over here very concerned. That is in part because, though the Reagan administration is better regarded, we find here, than it was many months ago, there is still some hesitation about whether or not Washington has worked out a serious arms control proposal.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us tonight from Brussels. Have a safe trip to Geneva.
Thank you.
Well, meanwhile, today at Cape Canaveral, Florida, the United States took another step toward military power in space today. The Space Shuttle Discovery was hauled out to the launch pad early this morning in preparation for a January 23rd launch. This mission is the first fully classified U.S. spaceflight, reportedly deploying a sophisticated spy satellite to monitor Soviet compliance of arms control agreements.
World News Tonight, Saturday. Brought to you by Clorets.
Did you know coffee can give you bad breath? Truth is, most anything you eat or drink can turn on you and give you bad breath more often than you think. That's why I carry Clorets, the breath deodorant. Clorets has Actazole with chlorophyll, which helps your mouth's freshening power clean up bad breath fast. It's breath protection that tastes great. Of course, Clorets costs more, but it's worth it. Clorets, the breath deodorant, because you have bad breath more often than you think.
Hey, that cereal looks delicious.
It's new.
Pineapple, banana, and coconut.
Very tropical.
It's called Fruit and...
Now another post-fruit and fiber cereal, Tropical Fruit. Tastes so good you forget the fiber. High fiber flakes mixed with sunny dried pineapple, crunchy banana chips, and tender coconut. So all you remember is fruit.
And,
new fruit and...
New fruit and fiber with Tropical Fruit. It tastes so good you forget the fiber.
Overseas Senator Edward Kennedy today began a week-long tour of South Africa. Kennedy is an outspoken opponent of that country's policy of apartheid, and he says he wants a first-hand look at the racial tensions there. But as Jim Wooten now reports, Kennedy got a mixed welcome when he arrived at Johannesburg's airport.
This was the senator's first contact with a society whose government he has often condemned. He has come, he says, to demonstrate his opposition to its harsh treatment of blacks.
But this is also a sentimental journey for the senator, a retracing of his brother's travels here in South Africa 18 years ago.
His stay in South Africa was indelibly etched in his own memory as one of the most touching and moving events in his brief and crowded career. And it is in that same spirit of seeing for myself that I arrived here this evening.
You come to a country, Senator, that is a deeply polarized land.
Bishop Desmond Tutu, Kennedy's host and recent Nobel laureate, greeted him warmly with great expectations for his week-long tour.
The one major thing that I know is going to happen is for the world to see, and see perhaps through your eyes, what apartheid has done to God's children.
But there was a slightly less cordial welcome for the senator waiting in the airport lobby. A handful of blacks convinced that his visit is political grandstanding raised a noisy fracas before police broke it up. An appropriate introduction to this tense and turbulent country. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Johannesburg.
Klaus von Bülow, the Danish-born socialite whose murder trial dominated the headlines a few years ago, is now headed back to the courtroom. Last year, an appeals court overturned his conviction, but now a former nun who just became Rhode Island's Attorney General is reopening that case. The story now from John McKenzie.
Rhode Island's Attorney General, Arlene Violet, took office only this week, but she says she's heard enough of the Klaus von Bülow case to order him retried for attempted murder.
I am convinced that there is sufficient probative evidence which, if believed by a jury, would result in conviction.
It seemed this case was closed 3 years ago when von Bülow was sentenced to 30 years in prison for trying to murder his wealthy wife, Sonny, with insulin injections. But last year, the state Supreme Court overturned the conviction, ruling the police hadn't obtained necessary search warrants. The victim, 53-year-old Sonny von Bülow, remains in a coma in a New York City hospital. Her 58-year-old husband, also in New York, had no immediate comment today. But in Florida, his attorney, Alan Dershowitz, said he had powerful new evidence to introduce.
There's no question. The state's case is far weaker, and our case is far stronger.
The Attorney General called Dershowitz a showman and warned him to try the case in the courtroom and not the media.
If he persists in these types of comments, we feel that for the integrity of the system, we'll have to move to have him removed as counsel for the defense until he learns our rules.
Jury selection is to begin in early April. If convicted a second time, Von Bulow would still be able to file more appeals and extend this case still further. John McKenzie, ABC News, Providence, Rhode Island.
In Bolivia today, a team of climbers has finally reached the wreckage of that Eastern Airlines jet that crashed Tuesday in the mountains near La Paz. They found no survivors. 29 people were aboard that flight, 8 of them Americans.
For Bonnie Cass-Stevens, airline reservations agent, headaches come with the job.
I have a headache. I need some aspirin, please.
Today we'd like you to try extra-strength Tylenol. It works without aspirin.
I have to try it. I feel wonderful. The headache's gone. I could handle my job. I can handle whatever they want to throw my way.
Extra strength Tylenol. You can't buy a more potent pain reliever without a prescription. Now Tylenol introduces caplets, specially coated and shaped so they're easy to swallow. New extra strength Tylenol caplets.
Freedom's the one that took the stick out of gum, and puts the fresh in your breath. Yeah, Freedom's the one that took the stick out of gum, and puts the fresh in your breath. Yeah, Freedom's the one.
Freedent gum not only won't stick to your dental work, it helps clean in between to freshen your breath while you chew.
Freedom's the one that took the stick out of gum, and puts the fresh in your breath. Freedom's the one.
Freshen your breath with non-stick Freedent.
This is Joelle, Joe for short. Just 1 year ago, she lay dying from a narcotic overdose. But Joelle was lucky. She was given a remarkable antidote developed by DuPont that literally saved her life. The rest, however, was up to her. At the Pharmaceuticals Division of DuPont, we think of our antidote as a sort of second chance. Joelle got that chance, and oh, what she's done with it.
DuPont, better things for better living.
I have 3 reasons for eating foods like Kellogg's All-Bran. And here they are. You see, I just read about new reports from the National Cancer Institute, and some studies suggest that a high-fiber, low-fat diet may reduce the risk of some kinds of cancer. So, I made some changes, like eating Kellogg's All-Bran, because ounce for ounce, no food has more fiber than All-Bran. Just knowing that makes us all feel better.
Maximum fiber, Kellogg's All-Bran.
There was another offer of financial support today for a New York subway vigilante, this time from New York State Republican Chairman George Clark. He wants to donate $5,000 to Bernard Goetz, who's accused of shooting 4 black youths on the subway. Clark says Goetz was just trying to defend New York society. Well, joining us now is ABC media analyst Jeff Greenfield. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
You have a problem with the journalist coverage of the vigilante story, but more specifically, journalist reaction to it.
Yeah, and I think it includes me, too, and I should explain that. The story of the New York subway gunman has dominated the press for almost 2 weeks now. The story is topic A in New York, of course. It headlines local news shows. It's splashed across the tabloids. But it's also triggered nationwide coverage on TV networks. And it sparked something of a great debate in the press. Syndicated columnists argue about the right of self-defense or the dangers of vigilante justice. And the roundtable talk shows have taken up the issue as well.
The idea of vigilantism, however you define it, is wrong on almost every count. If you think it's going to reduce violence, you're wrong.
People applaud this because vicariously they are identifying with this character who escaped. And, I can't blame them in the least.
We cannot have a situation where everybody gets himself a gun and steps out and shoots everybody he thinks is a potential mugger.
You brought up again.
Now, I've listened to this debate. I've been a part of it as well, and something curious has struck me about the argument. For a lot of journalists on all sides of this discussion, there is a substantial immunity from the conditions we're arguing about because of some very basic changes in the world of journalism. Now, remember what newspaper people used to look like in the movies, but also in real life? They were a raffish sort of folk without college degrees, being paid salaries low enough to qualify them as working stiffs. They were out to keep the big boys honest, and they were out to tame the spoiled heiress and to teach her the value of hard work. Talk to these reporters about vacation homes or money market funds, and they'd have laughed in your face. Well, today on big city dailies and among syndicated columnists, and yes, on network television, the rewards of journalism have become substantial. And this means, to be blunt about it, that we don't have to ride the subways unless we do it by choice. We don't have to live in high-crime neighborhoods. If our public schools begin to collapse, we can put our kids into private schools or move. I think this can produce a dangerous sense of isolation on our part. It means we may be talking in abstractions about realities that millions of Americans face every day, but that we rarely feel. No, journalists do not take a vow of poverty. Yes, we can be victims of crime on occasion, as a CBS correspondent was last week. But journalists have a special obligation not to talk casually about the joys of vigilante justice when they may have no sense of what it would mean to be in a crowded subway car as the bullets start flying. And we are obliged as well not to deliver sermons about the rule of law when we rarely, if ever, experience the terror of neighborhoods where real protection has ceased to exist.
But Jeff, you're not going as far as saying that you have to be a jobless steel worker from Pennsylvania to understand the problem of unemployment, are you?
No, but if we or our colleagues never know what it means to meet a rent bill or a light bill, I think the danger of isolation grows, and it's something we must be careful about.
Jeff, thank you. It's nice to have someone here with me. I'm used to working this, too. Thank you. When we return, Howard Cosell will talk with Peter Ueberroth, whose Olympic achievement in Los Angeles convinced Time magazine to name him Man of the Year.
AT&T is in cereal. How? Captain Crunch put a treasure map in their cereal boxes and added something else that turned out to be a real treasure. What was it? An AT&T 800 service number. 24 million kids called to find out where the treasure was. And 18 million boxes of cereal sold in 6 weeks. The people of AT&T Communications. We're thinking about your business in ways you never thought of.
The secret of this mysterious drop of oil of Olay is that it's similar to the natural fluids your skin had so much of when it was younger. As your skin ages, it loses those vital fluids, disturbing nature's delicate balance. Oil of Olay penetrates quickly to revive the radiant look your skin had when it was younger. Discover the secret of Oil of Olay. It can help you look younger too.
Bob, we've got rats!
Thank goodness a neighbor told us about Decon Rat Killer, the clean way to kill dirty rats. Rat traps are scary and messy, and exterminators can mess up your budget. Decon bait is inexpensive, clean, and sure. Rats just eat themselves to death. No wonder Decon is the #1 rat killer in homes all over America. Decon is the clean way to kill dirty rats and mice.
24 years now I've been earning my bread by moving my fingers. Picking banjo for a bluegrass band. So when my arthritis acts up, well, it's a good thing there's Anacin.
Anacin has 23% more medicine than regular pain relievers. Anacin relieves minor arthritis pain for hours.
Oh man, arthritis don't go. Take it on me.
Anacin, more medicine.
Sunday on This Week with David Brinkley, the Arms Control Talks, a free-for-all roundtable discussion with top U.S. security experts on what could really happen in Geneva. Sunday.
In college basketball today, #3 ranked Memphis State was upset by South Carolina, and Wake Forest defeated #8 ranked Georgia Tech. And it was a close call for top-ranked Georgetown Hoyas today as they squeaked by the previously unbeaten Boston College in a Big East Conference game. BC's Roger McCready drove around Georgetown's Patrick Ewing to tie the score 74-74 and put the game into overtime. But Georgetown took the lead for good with Michael Jackson's jumper. The final score, 82-80. Sports heroes, or figures, are heroes to many, but rarely are they honored with titles like Time Magazine's Man of the Year. And this year, Summer Olympics organizer and baseball commissioner Peter Ueberroth was. Howard Cosell talked to Ueberroth about that. Howard?
Kathleen, I talked with Peter Ueberroth, touching on many subjects. Peter said he was stunned by his selection as Time's Man of the Year, an honor he now shares with the likes of Gandhi, Churchill, and Kennedy. The magazine claimed that he was the focal point of a great new wave of patriotism in this country, a great new spirit. I asked him if he thought that were true.
I think I was a symbol of it. What happened was the people in this country wanted to host the Olympic Games and do it in a very special way. to make all the nations in the world respect this country and know the true spirit of the people. And there were 72,000 people that worked hard to make the game successful, and I was just an example. I guess as the president, you're the top of that pinnacle. So I think the award was to this country, not so much to me.
That's modestly stated, but in point of fact, you had to contribute something that was very special. What was your contribution?
From the very beginning, as the first employee, a belief that the system works. A lot of people in your profession and many other places love to tear down the United States of America. It's a great country. Given a chance in the private sector, I think we can do almost anything. And we showed that. We put on Olympic Games for a fraction of what it cost before. We did it in a way that was respectful to the culture, to the religions, to the different nations from all over the world. We did it very well, and that can never be taken away from us. We sent back athletes from 140 nations as ambassadors from our country. They're going to continue to talk about the friendship they received.
What about your future in terms of the Olympic movement?
Well, I think I've accomplished what I set out to do in the Olympic movement. I don't think that there's any future for me. I think the Olympic movement is controlled by a European group with a heavy emphasis from these communist countries. And I hope there's some new leadership from the West, but right now there's not, and I don't see a role for myself.
And you would not accept, even if offered, a position with the International Olympic Committee?
I don't know that you turn it down, Howard, but I don't see it happening. I think the fact that the Games were very successful, that we did have a huge surplus, make it difficult for some of the people that didn't come to the Games, like the Soviets and the rest, to support a candidate such as myself.
Let's look ahead. The job as baseball commissioner. Let's begin with franchise shifts. Baseball hasn't had one since 1971, but football very much in the news on this subject. The most recent evidence, the brouhaha over the possible removal of the Eagles from Philadelphia to Phoenix. What is your policy on franchise shifts? What will it be?
Well, basically, it's a little bit mixed from football. I think the town that has a baseball team, has a single baseball team, should keep that baseball team. I don't think the team should move. If you find a community that's not supporting two teams, it's possible that one team could move over the long term.
Have some owners resented the manner in which you settle the umpire strike?
Yes. Yes. More than some.
How long do you anticipate you'll stay in this job? You're not a guy who's going to be knocked around.
You know, that's just pure conjecture now. I'm going to stay as long as I feel I'm doing something that's worthwhile. Stay as long as I'm helping baseball get better rather than retrogress. And I think I can make a major contribution. So I'm not, but you're right, I'm not going to be any kind of carrier for the owners. I'm going to try and do what's right for baseball. It's part of our society, and it's fabric of our society, and I think it's necessary that it's strengthened.
Now, Ueberroth faces an Olympian task in guiding Major League Baseball through the 80s. We go into much greater length about the problems facing baseball tomorrow afternoon on Sports Beat at 12:30 p.m. right here on ABC. Kathleen?
Howard, thank you. And in a moment, the Presley mystique. It's still attracting hordes of fans.
Tell the truth. Is there a really great tasting decaffeinated coffee?
Oh, yes. Taster's Choice Decaffeinated. It's made with the same superior Arabica beans found in gourmet coffee stores. Carefully roasted and using only natural decaffeinators for the purest coffee taste. Only Taster's Choice uses this gourmet blend, Arabica Supreme. Ah. The more you know about coffee, the more you'll know why the choice for taste is Taster's Choice.
Hope you like sugar, because this box contains not 1, not 2, but 9 added teaspoons. This has 14, and this, 18. And shredded wheat, toasted wheat, and raisins, none. When you add plump, juicy raisins, it tastes great naturally. So it goes against our grain to add sugar, or even salt. Nabisco shredded wheat. 0 added sugar or salt. 100% whole wheat.
Nabisco.
Monday, Henry Kissinger on U.S.-Soviet arms talks on Good Morning America.
Elvis Presley died 7 years ago after becoming the undisputed king of rock and roll. He would have turned 50 this Tuesday. As Judd Rose now reports from Memphis, the Presley legend not only lives on, but it's getting bigger and more profitable.
The seasons change, but time stands still at 3746 Elvis Presley Boulevard. It's been 7 years since Graceland, the rock king's home, became his shrine. But this year is special. This year, Elvis turns 50.
The mayor of Memphis will be here on the Graceland steps on Tuesday to officially declare it Elvis Presley Day. But the fans aren't waiting for that. They have several parties planned, the biggest of which is tonight just across the street. On the menu, peanut butter and banana sandwiches, an Elvis favorite.
And of course, there's birthday cake. Betty Page has made one that looks like Graceland.
These are the little bodyguards, and the Christmas trees, and of course this is supposed to be Elvis, and these are his women.
Betty herself is one of Elvis's women.
I'm in my own little world. When it comes to Elvis, I'm just in my own little world.
To gather in front of the jewelry case, I point out a few pieces of his jewelry.
This week, thousands of Presley pilgrims are coming to Graceland. For thousands more, Graceland's coming to them.
Hello, I'm Priscilla Beaulieu Presley, and I'm very aware of what Graceland has come to mean to so many people throughout the world.
Elvis's ex-wife has narrated a cable TV tour of the mansion they shared. She came home, and so did E.T. Entertainment Tonight did its own Elvis special, as did Home Box Office, and for just about every local or national TV program, it's now or never. There's even an Elvis rock video.
It's one for the money, two for the show, three to get ready, now go, cat, go.
Elvis meets MTV through RCA, which has also issued this $50 6-record birthday package. And the man who sold 1 billion records, more than anyone, is selling a few more.
When Monday's Billboard magazine comes out, that LP will be sitting there with a bullet at number 96 in the top 200.
Second only to Mickey Mouse as the world's most reproduced image, Elvis is out this year on $100 dolls and plastic guitars, on plates and in porcelain, even a grandfather clock.
It looks like your traditional grandfather clock, but they used wood from trees at Graceland as to make the clock out of.
And if you want something even more extreme, well, don't sweat it. Meet the men who would be king. Elvis impersonators do a thriving business. It's all quite a story. It must be, since everyone's telling it. Elvis's secretary, his nurse, his cousin, even his maid tell us what, but who will tell us why?
Elvis came along and put sort of a swagger in America's step and a sneer on America's lips that just weren't there before. And he didn't know he was doing it. He just thought he was singing his songs.
Friend, as a great philosopher once said, you ain't nothing.
He was nothing but a rocker, but his myth endures and grows. And even as we mark his passage into what would have been the winter of his years, he remains in the mind's eye ever young and vital and raw. The king is dead. Long live the king. Judd Rose, ABC News, Memphis.
And that's it for our first edition of World News Tonight, Saturday. I'm Kathleen Sullivan. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
For America's favorite love story.
You were like my own child. I could have you then.
Once is not enough.
You can have me now.
Richard Chamberlain, Rachel Ward.
While you're here.
The Thornbirds.
You're mine.
Tomorrow.
To me.